Hey guys, welcome back to the Nostalgic Neighborhood. Today we're tackling a question that might have crossed your mind if you're into skateboard maintenance, and that's should you get a skateboard bearing press? Let's address the elephant in the room right away. Do you need a bearing press? The short answer is no. Skaters have been assembling and maintaining their boards for decades without one. A good old truck axle usually does the trick when you're removing or installing bearings. But here's the real question, is a bearing press worth it? And for me, the answer is yes, and I'll show you why. Before we dive in, I want to mention that this isn't a sponsored video. I purchased this independent bearing press with my own money because I was curious if it would make my life a little bit easier, especially since I often wait to the last minute to make changes or do maintenance. So I'm usually rushing to get out the door and over to the skate park. First off, let's talk about the importance of maintaining your bearings, especially if you're using high quality ones. Clean bearings not only extend the life of your setup, but they also keep your ride smooth and fast. Of course, some skaters just get cheap bearings and treat them as disposable, but personally I like to get a good set of bone Swiss and I want to get my money's worth. I've got a video on how I clean my bearings, I'll add a link below. But yeah, to clean them properly, you need to remove the bearings from the wheels.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you?
Now, removing and reinstalling bearings can sometimes be a real hassle, especially with harder wheels, and that's where the bearing press comes into play. I have a couple of pairs of Powell-Peralta Park Formula and some Bones SPF wheels that I still keep in rotation, a set of Steve Caballero Park Formulas and some Kevin Staub SPFs. They're basically the same urethane formula, just for different divisions of the Skate One Corporation, and these are very hard wheels at 104A, which makes them fantastic for park skating, but it also means the urethane is less forgiving. When it comes time to remove or install bearings in these super hard wheels, it can be a real pain, like literally painful. When using the truck axle method, sometimes you gotta work it back and forth quite a bit, and every now and then one will give and you'll pinch your finger under there. But usually they're a little bit easier to get off, but there we go. But sometimes on these really hard wheels, it can be hard to get them back seated. And sometimes I'm just worried that I'm not getting them in evenly, and you just gotta really push, and it can just be a really pain in the neck. And that's why I got the bearing press, just to see if I can make this a bit easier and faster. On the other hand, with softer wheels like the Bones Dragon Formula, and these are about 93A, the bearings pop in and out using the truck axle without any problem at all. They just pop right off, and you don't even have to put that much force to get them back on. So if you're primarily using softer wheels and you only install bearings occasionally, your money's probably better spent elsewhere. And now let's get into how the bearing press works and why it's been a game changer for me. There are a few options on the market, but this one is from Independent Truck Company. I bought it off the NHS Direct website for about 60 bucks, and it has a brushed aluminum shell here, and then it's got some black steel parts on the inside. It came with some extra bolts if you want to attach it to a workbench or something too. First, let's cover how to remove a bearing using the tool. It's pretty simple. There's a rod here with a hook on it, and then it moves back and forth with the lever here. And basically you want this little lip of the hook to just engage with the inside of the bearing. And you pull it back, and then just the edge of the tool here will hold it in place. You just apply a little bit of force and it just pops right, it just pulls it straight out, and it pops it out no problem at all. So something that sometimes when I would just have to rock and sometimes pinch my finger, and this could not be any easier on these really hard wheels. So I love that. And it works with bearing spacers too. I've got one in this wheel here, and as you hook it on it, the bearing spacer just kind of slips out of the way. You can pull right, and then the spacer just comes right out. So it really could not be any easier. Okay, so the reason I'm doing all of this tonight is I'm wanting to move my bearings out of these SPFs into these Park Formulas over here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove all of the rest of the bearings so we can just get them moved over. It really couldn't be any easier or faster compared to that truck axle method. I mean, that's it. It's fast. Okay, so we'll set these out of the way. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get the bearings pressed back into these wheels here. And to do that, it really couldn't be any simpler. You just kind of lift up the lever here. There's a shaft that's on a pivot. And the cool thing about this is that the faces of the press here, they're perfectly perpendicular to the shaft. And when they apply pressure to the wheel, it's gonna go on evenly. It's not gonna put them in crooked or just do any like weird stress on the bearings. So that's great. You want to go ahead and put one on with the shield facing down, and then go ahead and put the wheel, it doesn't matter which direction, and then you want to have the shield face up, and then you just kind of hold your finger on it and slide it down. There's a little bit of a shaft and a hole, or a slot and a hole that you want to kind of line up, and you just line it up like that. And then to put the bearings in, all you do is just really push down on that. And again, these really hard park formulas, or SPFs, they might require a little bit more force, but I mean, that is it. They just go right in. This is so much easier than really trying to dig in with the palm of your hand on the truck axle method. And so for me, for these really hard wheels, this is a game changer. It really can't be any easier. It just literally takes a minute. There's really not much else you can say about it. It's pretty easy. So yeah, it's 60 bucks. The bearing press here isn't cheap, and I understand that it's an investment, but if you frequently work with hard wheels, value your time, and you want to maintain your gear properly, it could be a worthy addition to your toolkit. And I'm a bit of a gear junkie when it comes to tools, especially for my bikes. So for me, it was bound to happen sooner or later. So do you need a skateboard bearing press? No, you definitely don't need one. But is it worth it? In my experience, I think so. I certainly don't regret buying it.
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
And remember, taking good care of your gear not only extends its life, but also enhances your skating experience. Have you ever used a bearing press? What are your experiences with hard wheels and bearing maintenance? Drop a comment below and let's chat about it. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe for more skateboarding and BMX content. Until next time, keep the spirit alive and the wheels turning, and we'll see you soon, neighbors.